ETHOS, episode 8. Do we want our reality man it? Yo, let's check out this next clip with my girl. Well, she's not really my girl, Candace Owens. She's part of the narrative though, because even though Candace Owens has some very Caucasian viewpoints, she's still my sisterin'. And we can hear her out because that's actually democracy, hearing people out, seeing how they feel and weighing on the best route to solution. So check out this next clip from our girl, Candace.
For our rights. Meanwhile, there has never been a president that has dropped more bombs on black and brown people in the Middle East. That is just a fact, and it's something that makes people uncomfortable. Yes, it is a fact that he deported over 3 million people. And yet when Donald Trump said, I'm just going to build the wall, we're not even going to talk about deportation, people freaked out, called him racist, called him xenophobic. And it was really interesting for me to have sat down with Joe Budden yesterday. I honestly think our interview went on for 3 hours to really sort of get into that consciousness. What is it that makes you so angry when you see a black Trump supporter? Because that is the source of all of the hatred for me in black America. How dare you support Donald Trump when the media told us that he was bad? How dare you not say great things about...
Yeah, how dare you think for yourself? Can you understand them saying, how dare you? Candace, you got to give them more grace and understanding so they can understand how you came to your conclusion. Even if they don't agree with it, you got to leave space for that disagreement, for that tension. On top of that, you can be a little light-skinned and like real light, like on the beige, pinkish complexion, yellow spectrum light. You know?
Obama, when the media told us that he was great. And to go through that process and to recognize this alarming paradox within Black America that we are the most politically incorrect individuals, if you just want to assess our culture and our music. And yet when it comes to politics, we demand political correctness. We demand to be lied to. And I said that to Joe Budden when he said, oh, even if that's true regarding a situation pertaining to Donald Trump, even if that's true, he shouldn't say it. I pressed him on that.
Yeah, I get it. I get Joey's point. No, you shouldn't say it because you know nobody wants to hear it, but you still got to say the hard thing. And we got to stop and take the moment, take the pause, take the time to find the words. If he was being understanding and considerate to find the words, maybe we can have some of what they're talking about. I got to see this interview on Patreon. I don't know if I'm willing to pay for it though. Paying for it in this economy is crazy.
Pressed him. I said, so what are you saying? Are you saying...
Candace saying she pressed Joe Buttons is wild. It's just like, yo, we live in a crazy place. The internet is bugged, bro. We got Candace Owens saying that she pressed Joe Buttons for what? That's what we call managed reality, folks. Everybody is managing reality because the truth is too ugly.
Suggesting that we should be lied to. Are you suggesting that it's good to be lied to as long as it sounds good? And I think you'll find his answer to that to be pretty interesting. And that question for all Americans right now, does it make us uncomfortable to hear the truth? Yes, but would we rather be told lies? I think for a lot of people, yeah, they just want to exist in their little bubbles. They want...
See, it's not that people want to exist in their little bubbles. It's that people don't really want to be bothered out of their bubbles because people don't want to be uncomfortable and make the change that the truth requires. That's part of it. People want the truth, but also you gotta come with some solutions because after you tell them the truth, they can't just keep sitting in the lie that was created. We gotta find something new. We gotta find some solutions, and people don't be having solutions. So why are you gonna come and bust my whole world up and you ain't gonna help me fix it either after you bust it up? Everybody can't live in the world outside a propaganda machine, and we have to be understandable to people's sensitivities of it. We can't just blame them as they owe you to wake up. Remember, it was a time where you didn't know what you know now, when somebody told you or taught you. So you gotta pass that along, bring back each one teach one programs because we're supposed to be helping each other and we not. I'm not gonna say that. Those are harsh words and I understand the emotion behind it, but it's more selfish. Are you going to go with only thinking about your interests?
To believe that everything that America is doing overseas is irrelevant or it is furthering democracy. We're spreading democracy because it's scary. It's scary to go the other way. It's scary to recognize that there is an entire system of, honestly, what I believe to be sheer evil that is operating above us. It's scary to consider that the CIA might be completely corrupt. It's scary to consider that they may have been the people that made the decision to have a sitting president killed. JFK Jr. It's scary to consider that they may have had everything to do with the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., an insane story of how Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. We have never had answers about that. And yet that same government who could have been involved in that assassination then gives us Martin Luther King Jr. Day as what? Oh, here you are. You're here just to make you happy, to show that you're actually progressing. We're going to give you a day off. That's not progress, guys. It's stupidity. And the emotionality, the persistence.
Yo, man, can we get a kufi on Candace? Can we get a kufi on Candace Owens' head real quick? Because my girl is really showing her roots. She really showing that she got a washing set or silk press at the Dominicans in the hood. Or black ladies doing her hair, you know what I'm talking about? I don't know, I'm not sure. But I do know this is really sounding like she the fam. She may not be from your block. She might be from that same block Jenny was from, you heard?
Emotionality of not just Black Americans, but all Americans regarding topics, emotionality that is not backed by facts, that is not backed by history, is why the government is able to do these sorts of things, is why the government is able to completely run over what the people want and to expand and fulfill their own initiatives overseas, even when we don't back it. Look at Ukraine. They don't care. They constantly are telling us to get to work because we're going to do what we want anyway. They're operating like a mafia, right?
I wouldn't disrespect him like that. You see, the mafia or cartel, those are like baby governments, where it's more organized government is operating exactly how it's supposed to be operating, raping and pillaging everything, acting like it's not. I think Candace probably stumbled on Black Twitter or stumbled on a Black Revolutionaries page and, just started reading the facts that they had on there and checking the sources, because I didn't know she had that in her. And that's why she's having the blackest week ever, you heard? It was a good topic. It was a little history, little history tidbits, Candace. You don't got my vote. But I will give your content a like now when I see it. I'll make sure that I like it. I'll like your content because the algorithm needs it. And guess what, my good sister, and I understand, even if you have the caucasity to be saying some of the things that you saying, I'm still going to treat you like my drunk uncle in the family. You know the lame, but you love the same. Shout outs to Hov.
And that's scary for a lot of people to consider because we know what that means. When you are willing to tell the truth, the mafia will take you out, right? But we're coming to a place right now. I genuinely feel this in my soul. I have said this to my husband. I expressed this to Joe Budden. I say this to everybody, that for the first time, I think people are starting to wake up. And this was best demonstrated to me the other day when I did a live talking about the birth control industry, talking about the government incentive to sterilize women and recognizing that it has been by and large successful via the pollution in public education, making sure people can't read, but they feel women's health, my reproductive rights, my body, my choice. Propaganda created by governments and corporations to make sure that you poison yourself.
Bro, she expressed this to Joe Budden, bro. This is nuts. This is why we have a free space, so we can have that weirdness, so things can happen on the planet. Because on what planet is Joe Budden and Candace Owens having a sit down that you have to pay for? And I'm here for it. I'm here for the conversation. I'm here for the back and forth. I'm not here to pay for it, though. You heard? Go check it out, though.
That you can't have as many kids as they used to be able to have before this poison existed. The poison that's in our food, Monsanto. For the first time ever, people are starting to take a stance and starting to recognize that. So I remain optimistic every single day. And I express this to Joe Budden, not just for Black America, but for all of America. Because for the first time, it feels like we hear the truth. And for that, I am grateful for COVID. I am grateful for how far the government went with censorship. I am grateful for how far they went in terms of trying to have autonomy over our bodies. We no longer had autonomy. They were trying to force vaccinate people. They were trying to demand vaccination in the workplace. And I think what happened is they overplayed their hand.
You see what I'm talking about? The caucasity. Y'all not grateful for the vid. Y'all not grateful for the big C19. They messed up my little gig. They messed up my plans, you heard? I had plans, bro. I was working on something. I had way more paper than I had. They messed my paper up. Watch your mouth, lady, you bugging.
And we're on the brink of a mass awakening. So I want to remind everybody to feel positive every single day. I hope if you listen to my podcast, you walk away and you feel informed, but you don't feel sad. I don't want you to walk away mad, sad. I want you to say, now that I'm informed, I can now walk into society and demand the change that we all deserve.
On that end note, Candace, we're gonna agree with you. We are gonna take what you said and double down on it. Oh man, you got me saying craziness. Facts. Facts. Candace Owens said, we are part of a mass awakening. I said that at the top of episode 2 of my guy, Cat Williams, exposing the lies at the top of the year. I said, hold my phone. Hold my phone. Are we gonna get the truth back? And yes, we did. Yes, we did. We're gonna get so much truth that people across the pulpit is coming down having conversations at the barbecue. We got Joe Butters and Candace Owens sitting down trying to make us pay for what they talking about. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? First of all, y'all crazy for trying to make us pay, but I absolutely understand. I get it. Also, them just doing that is epic. It's amazing. Because what? Bitch, what? Where else can you get Candace Owens and Joe Budden's interview? Where else but the internet? I don't want this type of stuff to stop. That's why I love the internet. I want this stuff to be able to keep going. How we moving, how the world is heading, it won't be. And that's why we even here to fight. It's a good fight. On this next clip, I got my girl, Amala Ekpanobi, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. She's another one of my Oreo sisterin. We call them proper, or the black community calls them proper. She's another one of them, you feel me? We still gonna look at what she's talking about because she's pointing out the ugly characteristics of the culture. And guess what? We need people calling out the ugly characteristics of the culture because it's not pretty, because it is the darker side. And that's all right. Every culture got its darker elements. Every culture got its ugliness. We're gonna have to embrace it and make that change. We have to face ours and stop acting like it's not there. We gotta check out what my sister's saying, even if she's a Caucasian way. She's still my sisterin. Let's check out what she's talking about with a professor and this interesting study.
Now, I'm going to show you guys a video of Roland Fryer, who is a black Harvard professor. He's tenured at Harvard, and he has really got his claim to fame in identifying blackness, police brutality, all of these different angles that are given to us as black people for what we should believe, how the world is built for us, how the United States is against us, how police hate us. And he took it upon himself as an economist to look into some of the claims being made. Now, what he found shocked him and shocked the world. And instead of people wanting to see the research and the evidence that he has put together, they told him to stay silent. And why? Because it didn't fit the narrative. And I'm gonna let him tell you himself. Let's watch.
I collected a lot of...
Before we even get into it, did you hear that description? It didn't fit the narrative. What narrative? Why is there one story that is being perpetuated? Why is there one main pillar that we are all subject to? What narrative? The narrative is crazy. It's not really crazy. It's made for it to look like that and made for you to feel all incompetent. We have to start stepping back and looking at the whole picture. Roland Fryer, Harvard professor of economics.
Data. We collected millions of observations on everyday use of force that wasn't lethal. We collected thousands of observations on lethal force. And it was in this moment in 2016 that I realized people lose their minds when they don't like the result. So what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People seem to like that result, but we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now, that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little-known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found this surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it.
Now let's unpack that before we go any further into this video. There's so much to be said about...
Now, Roland Fry's research exposes that police shootings didn't actually expose a bias. So how was the experience of the facts and the reality of what Black Americans see and witness and go through not connecting? They aren't connecting because it's working how it's supposed to work. Let me give you an example. If 2,000 people get shot across America and 20 of those 2,000 people is Black, that's only 1%. That's a pretty insignificant of the total. But actually think that 1% is the only percent getting put on the news. That's the only percent that we see. That's the only thing that's highlighted. Black crime and how it's talked about, how it's displayed, how it's handled, how it's treated are the things that reported on TV. They don't actually match up because the numbers aren't being represented specifically in that case. So now in the same way, how we don't see white crime represented, you know, how they used to have representation. Remember that? Representation for everything? Where's the white crime representation? There is no white crime going on in America. Of course it is. Of course there's white crime going on in America because they make up most of America. They're a majority of the population. But why don't we see it? Because of propaganda, because of the media elitist industrial complex keeping it away from actual reality. The truth, you know, managed reality.
What he's just divulged. One, that there can be certain amounts of research or evidence that people like and enjoy and want to see, and then there is other research and evidence that people dislike and don't want to see. And as much as we know that's true, it's kind of astounding to hear it said out loud that you can like a fact or dislike a fact. Doesn't matter. It's the facts, right? So if you're finding instances of...
And here's the thing. If you know anything about this movement and this understanding, you know that the biggest part of it, they call cognitive dissonance. Words to know. It's when you can't accept the facts.
Cognitive dissonance is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when a person holds two contradictory beliefs at the same time.
We have to start blaming people for their level of awareness and start helping them out. The point of this content is so we can show you the other side and help you out of it, baby. Step you into it, help you understand that, yes, you was lied to. We was all lied to. They lied to all of us. We're all in the same boat. White people, black people, yellow people. They used to say red people. They took out all the red people. They made them pink.
Bias, and people are cheering that on, as he said he found in lower levels of bias, like stop and frisks and being pushed against cars, things like that. He was finding that police had maybe a racial bias injected in those acts. Why would people be cheering for that? Why would they be happy about that? Why would they like that finding? It's because
they like finding it because it reinforces that belief they already have. It's very simple when you want to understand people and what they're actually going through. When you have a Caucasian outlook or you're raised up around them and socialized around them, then you're picking sides and you're not even aware of it. You don't even recognize that you're picking sides. Even if they're stupid or ignorant, those are two actually different things. Ignorant isn't being cognitive of something or being aware of it. But being stupid means you actually can't comprehend that thing. So we have to stop being so harsh on our brothers and sisters, even though I know they're harsh on you. We have such an African name too, it's wild. It's wild that this is what we're up against, that we have to reel each other in. We have to talk to each other with understanding where they're coming from and who they are. And it's all good, we trying. At the very least, we gonna try, I'ma try. CEO Fox kids if don't nobody else care. Even if your persuasion is Caucasian, you heard?
reinforces what they already believe, that black people are victims. So if you think about that in the broader sense of academia, that means you have a lot of supposed academics who are simply going out into their fields of research looking for things that already support what they believe. They're looking for research that they like rather than research and findings that are true. And to dislike somebody finding out that there in fact is evidence that police do not have bias when it comes to shooting people based on race. Mind-blowing. You should be elated.
I wouldn't really say that either because I wasn't in the streets. I was an op once upon a time. I was HP's finest. HP's finest, call us your highness. I talked to a lot of cops in my day. And I was on the other side too. I was a colleague, you know? I was one of the boys. I was one of the boys in blue. And I could tell you a lot of them was shooketh. A lot of cops that you see on the street is shooketh. And it's okay, I understand. They don't understand the culture. City life is way different from upstate life, and we had the little talks while we was on post. It's the understanding in the divide. There's a divide, and we need to be understanding to people on their sides, on their respective sides. So there is a bias. I witnessed it myself. The numbers may not add up because they all have biases, but this study is interesting nonetheless. We got to get somebody on this. We got to get Dr. Umar on this, somebody that we trust a little better, or rather with a black perspective, not just some black skin, because that's how they psyop us.
To hear that there is evidence to suggest that, especially since police brutality is a keystone in many of the racial arguments that we're having today. It's leading to protests and riots, people fighting each other in the streets, people killing police officers. You should be over the moon to hear that there is research that dispels that myth and says, you know what, maybe it's not true. Yet he was told that they should not publish this research and that they should not let it out to the public. And he took it upon himself, mind you, as a good academic, to say, you know what, I came with these foundings and I had 8 RAs find this. Let's do it again. Let's loop it back over. I'm going to hire 8 new people who may or may not have their own biases to do the exact same research again and see if we come to the same conclusion. Now, I'll let him tell you what he found.
To make sure they came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose. It was a 104-page, dense academic economics paper with a 150-page appendix, okay? It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. This is full of shit. Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? That's amazing. You are a genius. And I had colleagues take me to the side and say, don't publish this. You'll ruin your career.
And if you had a real open mind, my good brother, you might have seen that they were trying to tell you, because they might have known that you were brushing up against the machine, AKA the Matrix, AKA the Blob. They didn't want you to brush up against the machine. They were trying to tell you and didn't have the words, or what to call the Matrix. Yeah, this is it. Why do I find this thing to be true? Meanwhile, my experience of the thing isn't true. It isn't true that the police don't brutalize people. I see it every day on my phone. It isn't true that the police aren't being brutal to black people. They just killed so-and-so. I stopped the trauma porn because I don't remember any of the names because I stopped consuming it. It doesn't help. RIP to those people. Sorry to the families, but I stopped memorizing the names because that's all we actually did, was memorize the name. So why is the facts being misrepresented like that? Seems like the same disconnect that everybody's having in the field, but they aren't stepping back and looking at the hill, that proverbial hill what we were talking about earlier, to see how, after you look at it and go, wow, look at what we're dealing with. We all dealing with 2 different realities. That's why it's managed.
Pause. Now this shows an even broader problem. How is it that in the halls of academia, you have people responding to something of this length, saying it's bullshit before they've even read it? And I've experienced this on a much smaller level than what Roland Fryer went on to experience in his career, having found these findings and putting them out to people. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But I've gone to college campuses to speak to students and do little, seminars or a talk here, a speech there. And before I've even arrived on the campus, you have members of faculty and students calling for the entire event to be shut down before they even have any idea about what I'm going to say. And they're publishing things like, she's a transphobe, she's a racist, she's a white supremacist.
I'm not gonna lie, unless you got a fat butt, maybe, but you might need to be canceled. Not really canceled, like for real, because I'm not really on the canceling side. But if you don't look fire, I don't want to see you on my college campus either. So I can understand. Not really, but I'm just playing devil's advocate.
For even knowing me. And that seems to be the exact same thing that's happened here. They've made up their minds about the conclusion before they've even gone to do the study. And if that does not terrify you when it comes to the halls of higher education, if that does not undercut the value of going into higher education, I don't know what does. The last thing I would want...
See, that's part of the issue, that you hold higher education so high as if they can't lie. What are we talking about? The higher education is part of the institution of America. Yeah, they're lying. Matter of fact, they're the ones spreading and perpetuating the lie. How about that? How about they're helping generations of liars? It's a bunch of C students running the world. How about Rockefeller with the GBE said he wanted factory workers? How about that's how we got the public school system? So why wouldn't higher academia be subject to the same lies that every institution is subject? We just heard my son E. Weinstein saying it. He's a professor saying that this could only be happening in a centrally planned market. This thing is supposed to be an open market, but yet here it is. So why is everybody going through the same cognitive dissonance, acting as if they aren't, acting as if that experience that they're having isn't the same, like it's isolated. When it isn't, step back and check out the whole picture. Put your 3D glasses on because it's coming straight at you.
As a student is an educator who's already made up their mind before looking at information. And the fact that he had a colleague email him and say, this is not true, before he's even read what he's found, Insane. Insane. And then to go on to tell him that if he publishes it, it's going to ruin his career. If you publish fact, it will ruin your career. Are we seeing the through line in these stories today? Because I'm feeling it.
I said, what are you talking about? I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part?
Facts. Why? Because E. Weinstein put it so well. Lies are the substrate of America. That means it's the underbelly. Shout outs to Soft White Underbelly. Good content. We just got rid of Columbus Day. How did Columbus find America when it was people here already? Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus. Why is this so crazy to you when this isn't an isolated event? When my man Roland Fry isn't just highlighting what's already going on being continued.
Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, the issue is they just don't fit together. We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part about the police shootings, this is a literal conversation. I said to them, if the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they say, yeah, then it would make sense. And I said,
why doesn't it match up with our experience? It has to be wrong. No. His numbers are probably absolutely right. I'm sure his numbers are right. We're gonna highlight the black shootings, even if they're a minority, so we can keep black people down, so we can keep eating them being shot, so they can have the experience of always getting shot because that's all they see. Your perception is working every day perfectly fine, perfectly invisible. I'm saying I understand, that's why I'm sharing the little bit I got with you. Right. As tensions rise and markets fluctuate, it becomes increasingly evident that the status quo is unsustainable. We must heed the warnings and prepare for the tumultuous times ahead. Moreover, the voices of dissent, whether they come from within the system or outside of it, offer valuable insights to the cracks in the facade. From Candace Owens to Amelia Obi-Wan Kenobi, my Oreo sisterin', CEO Fox Kids if don't nobody else care. Y'all just need to meet the right brother so y'all could get back liking phase and shape-ups, you feel me? And other challenges, the mainstream media narrative forcing us to confront uncomfortable, ugly gorilla truths. Yo, y'all remember Ugly Gorilla? Yo, do y'all remember Ugly Gorilla?
Ugly gorillas, ugly, go away. Ugly gorillas, ugly, go away. Ugly gorillas, ugly, go away. Ugly gorillas, ugly, go away.
Let us know in the comments below if you know the reference of what I'm talking about. In the end, it's just about identifying the lies, also about finding solutions. We find at the crossroads. I will see you at the crossroads. I miss my Uncle Charles. Where complacency is no longer an option. Each one of us plays a role in shaping the future and how it's set up for us to demand transparency, accountability, and justice. So let's continue to challenge the narrative, amplify marginalized voices, and work towards a more equitable and informed society. Only then can we hope to dismantle the web of deception and forge a path towards a brighter future, or at least be able to play on the internet how we want, you feel me? Later days, y'all. If you like this episode, comment below. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Tell a friend to pull up, gain some knowledge with us.